Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video. All the March of the Lich King cards have been revealed. We have reviewed every single one of them, and it is time to do what we do every expansion and make a tier list of every single legendary coming out in the upcoming expansion. Rate them from tier S through F, with S being like god tier auto include to F being absolute unplayable trash. Well, there probably isn't any like that, but you get what I mean. And as a special bonus, I will be adding all the legendaries from the Deathlight class that are going to be added through the core set, as well as the Path of Arthas content drop coming with the expansion launch. So this will be one of our biggest tier lists in recent memory. And if you would like a chance of winning some of these legendary cards, today is the last day to enter our giveaway. All you have to do is go to the video with the thumbnail over there. It's in the description below. Like and comment on it. Be subscribed to the channel. And yes, tomorrow we will be announcing the giveaway winners. If we somehow happen to hit the next 1,000 milestone, I will add another mega bundle to that giveaway, so make sure to enter. This is your last chance to do so, and also your last chance to make me go broke until the rewards track is announced, and we'll do our usual rewards track giveaway. Anyways, let's dive in, take a look at these legendaries, and as always, I will link the template in the description below if you want to fill it out yourself, see how your rankings will differ from mine, how I'm horribly wrong, how you're absolutely correct, and well, let's take a look at these legendaries. Starting off, we have the Death Knight legendary Alexandros Mograine, 7 mana, 7/7 Undead. You need 3 blood runes, so you gotta go full blood, full bloody. Oh my goodness. Battlecry, for the rest of the game, deal 3 damage to your opponent at the end of your turn. So this is like infinite damage. Once it gets on board, you can brand it for 6 damage at the end of your turns. And well, as long as Denathrius is a card, I see this as a middling slow win condition. And when Denathrius is there, you just kind of want to play it, as you're going to be generating corpses, you're going to have things die. But I do think this card will see play down the road, especially Denathrius is probably going to get nerfed in the first balance patch of the expansion cycle unless drastic things happen. But for that reason, I'm going to give it a B for now, but it might move up. We have the Paladin legendary Anachronos, a 7 mana 8/8 dragon. Battlecry, send all other minions 2 turns into the future. It's like Reno going poof, removing the board, and then it comes back in 2 turns. If the board is full, they don't come back, and it's like a pseudo board clear. It is double-sided. It could go into like Troll Paladin variant. It kind of gives you time to set up your Carriel in particular, and for that reason, I'm going to give it an A. I feel like the Control Paladins can use it. The Holy Paladins can play it in Pure Paladin. It's just a really good way to buy yourself that time to get your Carriel up, to stay alive, and then boom, you can do some pretty broken stuff. Next, we have a new Barekon, a 8 mana 7/7 Undead. Battlecry, gain 8 armor. This turn your minions cost armor instead of mana. It's a Druid legendary. I initially rated this poorly, thought about it for a second. I think this is auto include in basically any Druid deck because it's basically a 0 mana 7/7 that has the ability to high roll just absolutely ridiculously. Celestial Alignment might end up getting nerfed again, hopefully properly this time if it happens, because all of a sudden you play a new Barekon and you can play 8 minions. They all cost 1 armor. It's just going to be broken, and one of them could be Lady Anacondra, and you don't even need alignment to make this great. It's just an incredible card that could also break the wild format. I just think, yeah, it's just a no-brainer in basically every Druid deck. That is an aggro, of course. Next, we have Astalor Bloodsworn. It is a 2 mana 2/2 Battlecry. Add Astalor, the Protector, to your hand. Mana Thirst 4, deal 2 damage. Mana Thirst is a new keyword, by the way, where if you hit that mana requirement, so you've got to turn 4, you have 4 mana, you will get that deal 2 damage. As long as those crystals are unlocked, they don't have to be full. As long as they're unlocked, you can do that. And the Protector is a 5 mana version of this card. It's a 5 mana 5/5. You add the Flamebringer to your hand. You then gain 5 armor if you have Mana Thirst 7. And lastly, you have an 8 mana 8/8, the Flamebringer. Deal 8 damage, randomly split between all enemies. So you get that no matter what. You can brand that. And then Mana Thirst 10, deal 8 more. That is not brandable, but still, if you brand this somehow, that's 16 plus 8, 24 damage. You could possibly play another copy of this with the brand shenanigans, do a bunch of damage. This is going to be a really good Renathal card as long as Renathal stays intact. It's just such a great value card, and I see it slotting into just a lot of Renathal style decks. And even if you take a look at like Control or Quest Priest, this is their 2, this is their 5, this is their 8, and they struggle in particular with their 8 and all of that. So I just think it's a solid card. I think it'll slot into multiple decks as long as Renathal doesn't get nerfed. Please leave it alone, Blizzard. And yeah, really, really good card. We have Asvedon the Grand Shield, the Warrior Legendary 3-mana 3/3 Battle Cry. Cast a copy, the last spell your opponent played. I said it was like the worst Legendary Warriors ever had. I thought about it more. It's definitely not terrible. If you're just copying like an Arcane Intellect, just, you know, a Sprint, something like that, it's incredible, right? It can slot in. I just don't know what Warrior deck is going to exist that will want to run this, because I only see an Rage Warrior existing. So as a result, still going to rate it pretty low. I'm going to give it a C, but this card does have a decent ceiling if Control Warrior ever comes back to the game. But with the cards that got this expansion, I just don't see it happening. So we have the Unholy Legendary, Unholy 1 rune requirement for Death Knight, Blightfang, 3-mana 3/3 beast, Battlecry, infect all enemy minions. When they die, you summon a 2/2 zombie with taunt. Relatively cheap, really good if there's a lot of other token-based decks in the game. This is just really good. You connect it on 2 other minions. It's like a 3-mana 7/7 with a delayed effect. I think it's solid. I think it gets slot in to certain Unholy decks. I'm not blown away by it, but the fact that it's relatively cheap and Unholy really wants to generate tokens, which this helps it do, but in an unconventional way, I'm gonna give it a B, but it definitely could be a lot better than that. Next, we have Blood Matriarch Liadrin, 2-mana 3/2 Paladin Legendary. After you summon a minion with less attack than this, give it Divine Shield and Rush. If this gets buffed on the board, all of a sudden, pretty much everything you're playing gets Divine Shield and Rush. Really incredible snowball minion, and I do see this whole like aggro Divine Shield Paladin being a realistic deck in both Standard and Wild. I'm gonna give this an A. I think the snowball potential of this card is really strong, and the fact that you can set it up yourself, play it, and then do shenanigans can be incredibly powerful. Next, we have a neutral Undead Legendary Bone Lord Frost Whisper, 6-mana 6/6 Death Rattle. For the rest of the game, your first card each turn costs 0. You die in 3 turns, and you cannot stop this timer. Once this is played, you got 3 turns to kill your opponent or you die. The game will be over in 3 turns. This card is terrifying. It could be meta warping, it could be super frustrating, or it could be just, I'm gonna play it and I'm gonna die. I'm giving this an A. I think this is a high A to B. I almost want to give it an S, but I feel like any class that can use this to actually, like, you look at a druid, something that can play 10 mana cards for free, there's a good shot they're going to be able to kill you pretty quickly, especially when a card like Denathrius still exists, but it is pretty high risk. It is a 6-drop that does nothing when you play it, and then you absolutely have to win. So there is some serious risk to that reward, but I do think it is going to be pretty damn good. We have the Warlock Legendary Darkhan Drathier, 8-mana 6/6 Undead, has lifesteal. At the end of your turn, deal 6 damage to the enemy hero. The only way this card is any good is if you cheat it out. You can do that, I believe, with a 5-drop that will get your most expensive Undead, and then you could proc the Death Rattle, get some Darkhans and all of that. But that's very slow, very expensive, and I don't think it's winning the game. I think this is one of the worst legendaries of the expansion, and I'm going to give it an F, so naturally it'll probably be S tier, and I'll be horribly wrong. Speaking of bad legendaries, we have Deathbringer Sourfang, a 5-mana 3/5 Undead Death Knight card. You need 2 blood runes to play this in your deck. It has Taunt and Death Rattle. Return this to your hand. It costs health instead of mana, so you got to pay 5 mana for a 3/5 Taunt. That sucks. And then for the rest of the game, you theoretically can spend 5 health each turn on a 3/5 Taunt to protect yourself to maybe not take 5 damage. Just seems like a terrible trade-off. You do have a lot of healing in this archetype, but I feel like you got better things you want to do with it. I'm going to give this an F as well. We have the Warlock Legendary Devourer of Souls, 1-mana 1/3 Undead. After a friendly minion dies, gain its Death Rattle. So any minion that has a Death Rattle or had a Death Rattle added to it, basically you get it. It's a little fish from Battlegrounds, an Azaz fish, although that one was only on Death Rattle minions. Still think this is a really good card. It's a 1-mana 1/3 with upside, with the tribe. Death Rattle decks can definitely utilize it, and I think even combo decks to an extent, you're playing like Mine or Owls or shenanigans like that, can use it. I'm gonna give this an A. I think it's a very powerful legendary, if just for the stat line alone. It's really not even that bad. Druid Legendary Elder Nadox at 5-mana 5/4 Undead. Battlecry, destroy a friendly undead. Your minions gain its attack. I don't know if this is the finisher you're looking for in your aggro druid, but it's a decent one. You have just any type of minion buffed up, let's say to 2 or 3 attack. that's a really good hit. That's Savage Roar, that's Bloodlust, and then that's on your entire board, including Elder itself. It can't kill itself, of course. It has to have a friendly minion to target, but if you're playing that Swarm type of token druid, I can see it happening. And Wild, you got Linecracker shenanigans for just stupid, unnecessary combos that I will be doing, but I'm gonna give it a B. I think it's a good finisher, not amazing, but could definitely slot into those decks pretty well. We have Theron the Forgotten, a 4-mana 3/3 Battlecry at a random. Outcast card to the left and right side of your hand that costs 2 less. It's a Demon Hunter card, obviously, and I just feel like as a standalone card, you're getting a 4-mana 3/3. It generates 2 cards that you might be able to cheat out right away, and if not, you can bank it for later. The average Outcast card isn't terrible. I don't think you need, they have this like Outcast archetype. I don't think it's going to work at all, but I think Theron just slots into whatever deck you want, just for value, fight for board. I think it's a good like auto-include style card. Not an S, but I'm going to give it a low A. I just think it slots into a lot of different decks. We have the Death Knight legendary weapon, Frostmourne. If it looks familiar to you, it's because Lich King and Arthas used to be able to give this to you. It's a 7-mana weapon, 5/3 death rattle. Summon every minion killed by this weapon. That is well, it's 15 damage for 7 mana. You got to kill a bunch of minions and they come back. It was always kind of a bad hit back in the day. Off the Lich King, off of Arthas, and yeah, it's an F. I don't see running this in your deck ever, even though you can tutor it, make it cost 6. It's a lot of work just to resummon minions, and 15 damage to the face for that much mana just ain't worth it in today's Hearthstone. We have Grand Magister Rometh, a Mage legendary 9-mana 5/7 Battlecry. Recast each spell you've cast this game that didn't start in your deck. Casino Mage gets its own little mini Yogg to an extent, and it's a pretty crazy card. I don't know if it'll be viable, competitive, but I'm giving it a B because it's gonna be bananas. And yeah, that was cringe, but honestly, I could see it as like a decent payoff to those style of decks. Maybe Big Spell Mage becomes like a hybrid of like Casino Mage and Big Spells, because a lot of it you just want to generate anyway, since you don't really want to run spells in your deck. We have Haldurin Brightwing, 3-mana 3/4 Hunter legendary Battlecry. Give all arcane spells in your deck spell damage +1. Really bizarre archetype, but that 4-mana spell that comes with it is utterly broken. You get +1 spell damage on that. You have a 4-mana 8/8, and it can only get crazier from there. Just for that, I feel like that archetype might have a chance, because that card is so utterly broken, and well, Haldurin might get you there. So I'm gonna give it a B just for the chance that, yeah, it's gonna buff that spell. And how is that a thing? I just assumed it had to be the stats being buffed because multiple links has to be broken. Well, we'll find out if it's really broken at the expansion launch. We have High Cultist Basilisk, a 5-mana 3/5 Priest legendary Battlecry. Resurrect all friendly undead that died after your last turn. The whole Priest archetype this expansion, basically all of it was like Undead Priest, and it doesn't look great. Like, you just have a bunch of little garbage value tokens and no real great way of winning unless you're getting to Denathrius, and I feel like resummoning them is just not amazing. I don't think it's terrible. I think the deck has a shot, but I'm not super convinced on it, so I'm gonna give it a C. I'm just not really sure if Undead Priest is going to be the truth. We have another legendary weapon here, this time for Hunter, Hope of Kel'Thalas, a 6-mana 4/2 weapon. After your hero attacks, give your minions +1/+1 wherever they are. It buffs everything on the board, in your hand, in your deck. Really good. It pushes 8 damage. This fits into like mid-range decks, like a bit more slower aggressive decks, late game decks. It's just a really solid Hunter weapon. I could see it going into a lot of different decks. I'm not willing to give it an S, but I'm gonna give it a pretty high A. I think it's a really solid Hunter card, and it will see play. Quite a bit of decks. The only thing holding it back is it is 6, but I feel like it just curves pretty well into your pet collector and all those type of things you want to be doing on 5 anyways, your Erelons. I think it makes the cut, so I'm going to give it a high A. We have the neutral legendary Invincible, an 8-mana 5/5 Undead Beast. It has Reborn. Battlecry and Death Rattle give a random friendly undead +5/+5 and taunt, so you are getting initially, basically, if you have an undead on the board, it's an 8-mana 10/10 that can also give another Death Rattle of a 5/5. It comes back with Reborn and another 5/5. This is an S tier card in any undead deck. It's like Bone Marrow on ultra steroids, and I could see it going into plenty of Death Knight decks, plenty of any other decks that just want to run undeads. It's auto-include. It's incredibly good. It is just an absurd amount of stats. You're getting corpses with it in Death Knights. You're bumping Denathrius up. It's just a ridiculously good card. We have the Frost Death Knight legendary Lady Death Whisper. You need 3 Frost runes to run this, so it's gotta be worth it. 4 mana, 4/3 Undead Death Rattle. Copy all Frost spells in your hand, and Frost spells and Death Knight are really, really good. And if you could double up on them, that's really powerful. The only thing holding it back for me, it's a Death Rattle, so you might not get the value you're looking for if it gets silenced, if you don't kill it, and it's a delayed effect. I'm still gonna give it an A. I think it goes into a lot of Frost decks because you want to go triple Frost. We're gonna put it as an A. I'm really on the fence on this one, but yeah, it's pretty darn good. We have the Unholy legendary triple rune requirement Lord Marogar, 8 mana, 9/7 Undead minion. Battlecry. Raise all of your corpses as 1/1 risen golems with rush. Each you can't fit, give 1 +2/+2. So you've got like a bunch of corpses, which Unholy is going to have a bunch of corpses. They generate them like crazy. This is an incredible board fill that's proactive because it has rush. It is an insane payoff. If you haven't won the early game with your 4 mana Bloodlust, I can't remember the name of it, this card is going to just crush people in the late game. I think it's S. I think it's auto include in any Unholy deck where you're going to want to go triple Unholy almost always. I think it's super strong, and you're going to see a lot of this card, or, you know, I'm completely wrong as always. We have Lorthamar Theron, a 7 mana 7/7 neutral legendary Battlecry. Double the stats of all minions in your deck. Reminiscent of an old dragon legendary for Hunter, it would double it in your hand. That was much too slow. That was 10 mana, it was only your hand. This is your deck, pretty powerful. I don't know where it slots into, but when you're doubling stats, that can get out of control really quickly when you're putting on a rush minions. Say you have some charge stuff, lifesteal, who knows? I feel like a deck somewhere will make this work. Hell, you could do Order in the Court with Paladin and maybe manipulate it that way. I'm gonna give it a B. I think it slots into certain decks and will just create just these unanswerable board states in the late game. Overlord Rakuru with 9 mana 6/8 Shaman legendary. It has rush and Wind Fury. After this minion attacks and kills a minion, resurrect it on your side. Really slow, no great way of cheating it out. The effect is only good if you're killing really good stuff, like decent stuff, and it's more of a card you're gonna evolve into. I don't see this being a hard run. I think it's an F. I just don't see this being a playable legendary. We have Overseer Frigidara, a 6 mana 5/6. This is a Frost Death Knight legendary, requires 2 Frost runes. Battlecry, draw 2 spells. If they're both Frost spells, deal 2 damage to all enemies, so like a Consecration. This is like, remember Ancient of Lore way back in the day got nerfed because it drew 2 cards for 7 mana. Now we're drawing 2 spells, dealing AoE damage, getting better stats, and I think every Frost deck will also run this. This for me is an S tier legendary. It's a draw engine, it's AoE, it gives you a body, it's an incredible card, and it can even cycle into your 0 mana refresh and do other things in the same turn with it. Incredibly powerful, and I see a lot of this in Death Knight's future. We have Patchwork, the 7 mana 4/6 Undead Blood legendary for Death Knight. Requires only 1 rune though, so you can play this pretty easily in an Unholy or a Frost deck. Battlecry, destroy a random minion in your opponent's hand, deck, and battlefield. This is ridiculous. This is a Mutinous on steroids. We know how good Mutinous is, and this fights for board. It disrupts the hand, it disrupts the deck. It can be run, like I said, in multiple Death Knight archetypes. Another S tier legendary in my opinion for Death Knight, and I predict this to be the most hated card in Hearthstone history because my god, people don't like having their stuff disrupted, and this does it ×3. Potion Master Putricide, a rogue legendary 2 mana 1/4. After a minion dies, add a concoction to your hand. Concoctions are like 3 mana spells. When you get 2 of them, they combine. You can draw cards, deal damage, summon random minions, give you a random card, destroy a random minion. It can do a bunch of good stuff, and this card can snowball, give you incredible value. You don't have to kill off your own stuff. You can kill off enemy things. I think it's a strong rogue legendary. I think it'll see play in multiple archetypes. I'm giving it an A. You don't even necessarily need to run any other concoction cards. This can be it, and maybe the cheater. That's it. Really solid even on its own. We have Rockgill, the Shaman legendary 5 mana 3/6 Undead Murloc. Battlecry, give your other minions Death Rattle, give your minions +1/+1. They all become Spawn of N'Zoths, and if you can't deal with them in a good way, their buffs are going to go all over the place, and Shaman can swarm the board, do really good things. That style of archetype hasn't worked out lately for Shaman, but this card is so good, and its potential with with Clownfish in particular, absolutely busted. I believe it's really close to an S tier. I think this can create unanswerable boards. I'm gonna give it a high A, not quite an S, because I haven't seen the board-based Shaman decks really kick butt in a while, but this is going to give it some serious juice. We have Shadow of Demise, a rogue spell, no mana cost, because each time you cast a spell, transform this into a copy of it. This goes into like every rogue deck ever, outside of like pure aggro or pirate rogue, because you get your best spells more than once, and that's incredible. Just think about with like Queen Ajari, you can get more Colossals, you can get more Reconnaissances, you can get more Contraband stashes. This card is just absolutely insane, auto include in, like I said, like every rogue deck ever in Standard and Wild, outside of very niche exceptions. We have the 6 mana 6/6 undead minion Sister Svalna Battlecry. Permanently add a Vision of Darkness to your hand. It's a 3 mana spell that allows you to discover a shadow spell, and it stays there permanently, so you get value, but it's 3 mana each turn. You cannot permanently discount it, but there are Radiant Elemental shenanigans in the game. I wouldn't sleep on this card. I feel there is scam potential with it, but it is slow, and Priest probably has better stuff to do, so I'll give it a B, but I still don't think it's as bad as some people think. We have the Demon Hunter's legendary weapon, Soul's Eater's Scythe, a 4 mana 4/2 weapon. At the start of your game, consume 3 different minions in your deck, leave behind souls to discover them. They're 1 mana spells, and once you play it, you can discover one of those 3 minions that were in your deck. Once you discover it, it's gone. You can't double dip, but it gives you disruption protection. Perhaps you don't want your Jace to get mutinous. Well, if it's in your hand as a soul, you can just pick to play it whenever. A little bit worse with cards like the Nathrius or the Relic card, but honestly, this might just go into decks that don't even care, that might run minions, more than 3 minions. I think it's an incredibly cool card. I think it's really powerful, and I'm gonna give it a low S. I think this will be a staple in a lot of Demon Hunter decks, even with the 1 mana penalty you kind of have to pay on the souls. Don't sleep on this one at all. We have the Death Knight legendary Thessarian. It requires 1 Frost rune. It's a 4 mana 3/3 undead. It has Reborn, and Battlecry and Death Rattle deal 2 damage to a random enemy. So you're getting in this card 6 damage, 2 from the Battlecry, 4 from both Death Rattles. You're getting a 3/3, a 3/1, and you're getting 2 corpses out of it. Absolutely incredible card. You don't have to go full Frost for it, so you can put it into certain Unholy, certain Blood decks. This is yet another S tier Death Knight card. Just incredible value for 4 mana, fighting for the board, pushing face damage, getting corpses. Really, really good card. We have the legendary spell for Death Knight, the Scourge, 9 mana shadow spell. You need 2 Unholy runes for this. Fill your board with random undead. As long as Renathol's a card, this card's better than I initially thought, at least from what I saw from Theory Crafting. It's an insane amount of stats on the board. Undeads have a lot of death rattles and effects like that rush. You never know what you're gonna get. You could also, always roll the one that, your first card each turn cause 0 and you're gonna die. That might be a little bit complicated, but overall, I'm gonna give it an A. I think the Scourge sees play in multiple Death Knight decks. We have the Sunwell, which is already in the game, and it's a pretty good holy spell. It's a neutral spell, the first ever of that. It fills your hand with random spells, costs 1 less for each other card in your hand, has a 9 cost base cost, and yeah, it's doing really good work. I'd say it's a low A. You're seeing it in Rogue, you're seeing it in Priest, you're seeing it even in Mage, because Dawngrass can recast it. It's a solid card, and I expect it to only get better as time goes on. We have the Warrior legendary Thori Belor, 4 mana 4/4 elemental. It has Rush, Death Rattle, Go Dormant, cast a fire spell to revive Thori Belor. You can revive it 2 times. I think Fire Enraged Warrior is going to be a legitimate deck. I don't know if this makes the cut, mainly because it is a bit situational, but you're effectively getting a 4 mana 12/12 that you do have to work for a little bit. I'm gonna give it a B. I'm not in love with it, but I do think it's a pretty good card. And lastly, we have the Mage legendary Vixalis, a 5 mana 3/5 elemental. Your arcane spells cast twice. I see OTK Mage returning with the whole spell package going on. This is a big part of it. You can OTK your opponent with Mage by turn 7 and 8 realistically now, which with this card, with the new arcane spell that enables this whole thing, I'm gonna give it an A. I'm not sold on it being S tier, but look out, I think it's a really aided card. And there you go, my tier list for March of Lich King plus Death Knight. You can see, I think the power level of this expansion is incredibly strong. This might be the most S's I've ever given, most to Death Knight, because, well, they need a lot of help and they'll probably be broken day 1, but there's a lot of good stuff going on for a lot of classes. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If I'm completely off base, agree, disagree, fill out the template yourself, share it on Twitter, whatever you want. If you enjoy the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day. Stay salty, my friends.